You asked for it, so here it is. So, here you go. And I'm gonna tell you more about how to write anime. Last time we focused on shonen generic styled anime, as anime music is an umbrella term for all the music in the genre. I wanted to get a little bit more specific this time. Obviously, some of the tips that we use there are still going to be used in this video because it's still within the genre. But there's going to be some more tips that are a little bit more specific. So first we're just going to listen to it and then we're going to break it down. First thing you probably noticed is it's hybrid. Anime has always been a little bit hybrid. I mean, they use a lot of synths, non-orchestral percussion, such as like processed drums, drum machines, or even like drum kits, which is used a lot nowadays. So anime used to not even be orchestral at all. It used to be like almost entirely synthetic. If you look at all the old animes, things like Astro Boy, the older Gundams, Dragon Ball, and that one came later than like the super old ones, but heck man, even Joe Hisaishi, who's known as like the king of orchestral scoring anime, his first score for anime, Nausicaa, was like entirely with synths. For this, I tried to use a kind of Hiroyuki Sawano kind of hybrid blend. So this is the main synth, and it's very colorless, as you heard. I tried to sort of thicken it up with some distortions in a way that would make it sound kind of analog. That's it alone. we added some frequency in there. Saturation. Devil lock for some distortion and a bit of compression. Next, I added all of this to stop that little spike that you hear at the end there. So we've just got some compression there. This one's pretty heavy. As you can see, this one is identical, but just helps when you've got two there so that they're not doing all the work on one. Tube compression to try and give it more color and sound, again, a bit more analog. You can hear that sounds more analog there. Just a bit of spatial, what's it called? Enlarging, and then a limiter to stop that at the end, and then a multi-band compressor again to try and cut down from that little spike. So I felt like it was still missing something, so I added another synth which is the exact same but an octave higher. And so all this does is it's more distorted because it's higher, and I also have a bit more distortion on there, and I don't have some of that what's it called, multi-band compression. So alone, cool, and together. Still gets that little spike, but it's not as clear anymore. Okay, so we also have some other synths here. We've got this really basic synth, doesn't really do anything, just provides a bit more of that sound, I guess. And then we have this stab, which I think is from Albion 1. It's got distortion in the stab already. All I did was really compress it a little bit so that I could add some delay in there to get that like kind of thing going on. Finally, I don't know if you'd call it a synth, but there's a little sub drop before the yeah. So sticking with that hybrid kind of style, we've got some drums here. We've just got a kick and a snare, both with some reverb and stuff on them. Nothing fancy, I don't think. No. Just sort of to make it sound a bit more menacing. Again, to try and make it get a bit more of those non-authentic orchestral sounds. Okay, so the next thing that we have here is what I call the anime vamp. So it's a violin doing this really fast arpeggio or some kind of ostinato on repeat while the score builds. So this isn't just heard in anime, of course, but man, is it used in anime. Dear Lord. So the guy that I see use it like the most in almost every single score he does is Kevin Penkin. Of course, Yoshihiro Ike also did it, and Yuki Hayashi, Hiroyuki Sawano as well. Like, lots of composers have done it, and many more if you actually listen out for it. Yeah, so all it really does, as you can hear, it's just the violin doing this thing, and then everything builds around it. And even though nothing changes here, it helps to build tension, I guess, because of the repetition. Just interesting to talk about, I guess, is with the drums, I added a little bit of a EQ little sweep here. Just to help it build. So then we go into just solid standard anime score. Guitars, of course, are used in all anime, but I did include them for the sake of trying to make it sound a bit more hybrid. It's a little sweep too. All they're doing is just the chords. We even got this here to cut out frequencies Sounds better without it, of course. But when everything is going, it's too much. Just tidies it up a little bit. And that's a technique that I use a lot. I use it on all the things. Again, if we look here in just the choir. Just standard choir stuff there, but then and of course in the brass too. So again, it doesn't sound better with it on. It sounds considerably better with it off, but it makes a lot more sense in context when all of these things are happening. So the melody might sound a little less anime, and that's because I didn't want to go so generic as I did last time. Instead, I wrote kind of a normal, regular melody, and then I animeified it. So some of the ways that you can animeify something, a melody, is of course with the lead-ins and with that 3-3-2 kind of pattern, which we see throughout the whole thing. The lead-in, and the 3-3-2, exactly right there. So the next thing was to use the Japanese pentatonic scale. And that's a little different to the standard Western pentatonic scale. And it's used all the time in anime. All the time. And so in parts, like as you can see, I use all the notes of the minor scale. But occasionally I'll do things like this where I'll jump between the there, for example, where I'm jumping between only the pentatonic notes to try and make it sound a little bit more anime, I guess. And there again. So there, how it doesn't sound so anime because I'm just using the standard minor scale. But it still has that clear anime sound because of swapping some of those notes. When I found it just wasn't hitting quite anime enough, I would swap some of the notes out. Not much more to talk about here. You know, you've got the choir that comes in later with the brass to sound more epic-y and hybrid-y. And lastly, we finish back down with just this melody refined as we do in anime, right? With bringing back this little arpeggio because I liked it and I kind of wanted to utilize it a bit more. So I mentioned this in my how to make lo-fi video, and it was kind of how to make your piano sound a bit more anime, and all you need to do is just cut off some of the highs. So here we can hear this piano. I mean, I think it sounds great in context. We're going to solo it just for the sake of, you can go back and hear it in context if you want. And all we've got going here, this is just to help brighten up the sound and whatnot. And we've got this. That's what it sounds normally with very high pitch. And it's a very pretty piano. It's my favorite piano. So I've named it this. And this sounds a little bit dull, honestly. But it gives that dullness and that melancholiness to try and, I guess, brings in that, you know, nostalgic feel that anime has. Anyway, part 3 will come out very soon. It'll be on the parallel side of the spectrum, the opposite, I guess, is that parallel? Side of anime scores. That'll come out very soon, so stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Bye, kittens.